Hey, good evening, Martin County. This is the Martin County
What is
Martin
this?
County Business Exchange
There it
show,
is.
Wednesday night show. Sorry, Frank.
That's all right. I'm waiting.
It's John Campion.
I'm in for an
your
hour or so.
co-host with Frank Mezzapel, world famous Frank Mezzapel.
Okay. I still don't know how I got that moniker.
I don't know either,
yeah.
but it just I can't let it go, Frank.
I love it.
What does Lee call you?
Oh, Big
Frank.
Yeah.
There we go.
Well, to that, I've got one for you because. All right, kill the audio, and this is for you. Big John. Big John. All right.
That's
See?
Every morning in the
See, that
mine,
makes more
saying
sense
right.
to me than.
It does. Thank you. Thank you for that moniker. We do have some fun with that.
Yeah.
And we are just totally blessed to have as our guest from our wonderful networking group today, Dr. Michelle Narson from Narson Kasey
yes.
Chiropractic.
Right.
And Michelle is she is just a wonderful person, wonderful family, and we're just so lucky to have her. She's one of the smartest people I know, and of course, great mother. And I always, women just always blow me away of how strong they are and what they're able to get done versus
Oh, yeah, us guys.
Big Frank and
we're
Big
just
John.
happy to get through a day.
But anyways, welcome, Michelle.
Thanks, John. Thanks for your kind words, and I'm happy to be here.
Well, we've all been pretty much very, very fortunate to have gone and used your practice before for different reasons. Somebody was asking me today if I'd ever use them. I said, yeah, I had to go on a golf trip with somebody, and I was bent into a pretzel like 4 days before going, and then David, her husband, straightened me out with, I don't know, I think he beat me up or something. So it really
Put
doesn't
you on
matter.
the rack.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
But now they've got, anyways, we're going to, in the next 50 minutes or so, we're going to cover a lot of bases with Michelle, and she's going to share a lot of the stuff about what they do and what she does and what's really important. She is definitely concerned about not only her family and herself and their health, but whoever she gets an opportunity to work with, whether it's on the physical side for repair or on her
On the internal side, your
internal
immune
side.
system.
Yeah, she is, and this is a big thing happening, and she'll clue us in and let you all know out there what's happening on.
Functional medicine.
Functional medicine.
Yes.
Thank you. I
Yeah.
wrote it down today, and then I left it on my desk. So,
It's okay.
but anyways, so hey, how do you want to start this? I say we could I can talk about your guys, how long you've been in business, what you do. I mean, I will let you talk about that. I can make it up,
No,
really.
you're pretty funny. It's fun to hear you make things up, but I don't know if I want to take that risk.
No, we don't.
I
Definitely
know
not,
a little
no.
bit about
Funny,
your circle of people.
Funny, yeah, that's right. Things that happen, and that's why Frank and I only hook up maybe 3 times a month because it's dangerous.
Yeah.
Lee Carroll, where are you?
Yeah, right. No, but it's always good. It's always a lot of fun when you're in the studio.
Thanks
Yes.
a lot, Frank.
Yes.
All right. So on that note, David and I, we're a husband and wife chiropractic team. We've been here 23 years on the Treasure Coast. We've been in private practice, I think it's 26 years now. And we love what we do. I always like to say people that know us know that we're very genuine. It's part of our purpose to help people. And we are both trained in sports injuries and physical fitness. We have postgraduate education in that. As you know, John, my husband is also one of 10 people in the United States on the PGA medical team. So he gets to go on tour and work on the best golfers in the world, rotates with the other 9 docs so they can all have an active private practice. So that's a really fun experience. I always think it's humbling.
Talk about a claim to fame. I mean, that is just awesome.
Excuse me, Tiger. Move over. I've got to put Jamie Lovemark on the table. Yeah, that's cool.
Well, he's
That's
real
amazing.
humble about it, which
I know.
always
Yeah.
impresses me. I always think
Me
he's
too.
the best kept secret. He was, when he's out of town, I cover his patients and my patients. And a lot of times in the beginning, he's been doing this 17, almost 18 years. I would go in to see one of his patients, and they'd say, "Oh, is Dr. K all right?" And I'd say, "Well, he didn't tell you where he is." No. And I said, "Well, he's out on the PGA Tour working on the golfers, and they'd say, "Oh, I didn't even know he did that." And one time I asked him, I said, "What do you like about doing that?" Because they get up at they could be up at out on the course at 4:30 in the morning. He's the only practitioner, he's the only physician on the field of any tournament that he works. So everything, whether it's a chiropractic problem, still has to go through him, and then he can get everything to the right department.
Wow.
But he has to be there for both the early golfers, the late golfers. Sometimes the day isn't done until 7:30. It's a long day, and he's just said he likes being part of something bigger than himself, and that's the kind of guy he is. So it's good.
That's really cool because he's probably also seen how the PGA has grown over that period of time.
Right.
As being, I'm an avid golfer. I love watching golf on TV because I got a nice big screen TV, and you can, and I like to see them when they screw up like us. But it's very cool, and you are so right about him being humble about it. So it's kind of like if you run into a celebrity and ever like, oh, so and so, this, can you autograph this for me? Can you make it out to Frank, my son? And but you just with David, a lot of respect,
He's a good guy. He's a good guy, and our hearts are very invested. We live what we preach, and our goal is always just to be as helpful as we can. David, so he brings the sports medicine aspect to the practice. He's also done some concussion prevention programs over at the hockey rink down in Palm Beach for the Palm Beach Hawks. He's done that for the kids in the program from 8 years old all the way up to, I think, 19 and 20 years old. So that's a great program. And then I have my functional medicine hat that I wear in the office too. So I have my chiropractic hat and functional medicine. And it's really just addressing everything from, outside in, inside out, and trying to help people be more balanced in their lives.
When you really started getting into the functional medicine, because we've talked about it over the years, and I've even sat in your office across from you going, should I not? I should. At what percentage has your percentage changed as you had?
For me, absolutely. David is 100% chiropractic and sports medicine and so on. And it's funny how it started for me because I never intended on even having the functional medicine in the office. I took it because I had some personal health issues. I was curious. It sounded interesting. I went to a few courses, and you have those pivotal moments in your life where things you learn change the way you look at the world. And I couldn't look at people the same way anymore. They would come in for chiropractic issues, so musculoskeletal issues. And then I'd start hearing all the metabolic issues that they had when they talk about their digestion or they talk about their dizziness. I start thinking about what's going on with their red blood cells and their oxygen delivery and their blood sugar. And you can't look at it and only think about what's happening in the cervical spine or in the neck anymore. You start thinking a bigger picture. So my practice with functional medicine has grown dramatically. I would say probably at least 70% of my patients now are functional medicine patients. And that's happened very organically. I don't advertise. I've never advertised for it. It really started with a good friend that was also a patient, and she came in for some severe depression, what I would call hopeless depression. Mm-hmm. And she had some hormonal issues, and she didn't know where else to go. She didn't want to be on hormones anymore. She had stopped her hormone replacement just cold turkey, and she had a lot of stressors going on in her life. And I just said, well, I know what to do here. I don't usually do this in my practice, but I'll walk you through it. And if I think I need to refer you out, I'll do that. If I take it further than, my skill at that point, that was a long time ago. And long story short, after about 3 to 4 months, her depression was cut dramatically, and all the other symptoms that she had come into, she felt like she had purpose again. She was sleeping through the night because she had previously not been sleeping more than 4 interrupted hours, and that hooked me. It felt so good to help somebody. In that case, it was somebody that I dearly, had a heart connection with. Yeah. But I realized that there's this place that people are not being served, And I really love filling those places where I get to jump in and help people that just feel hopeless. So I think that's probably, my favorite part about it is I get to be a health detective, because that's really what functional medicine is about. It's always asking, why is this happening? And continuing to ask why, like a little kid. Why? And you don't give up until you find some answers.
Are we there yet?
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
Yeah. Used to drive my dad crazy. I always ask him why.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
It is. It is just.
I think that's what's missing. All forms of healthcare have value, and I like to work with the medical system. That's, I think, when the world functions at its best is when we're working together. But the typical medical paradigm, they don't ask why. They're not really taught to look at it that way. There's a standard. You're taught great diagnostic skills, and then once you get that diagnosis, there's a box that everybody fits into if they have that diagnosis. And from my perspective, everybody is biochemically different, neurochemically, metabolically, and so we don't all react the same, even to the same things. So that's where I get to dig and have fun.
Well, one of the most popular things going on right now, Michelle, is people are looking at their DNA and having that done. And is that bubbling up new opportunities for people to seek out help and advice on issues that are coming up that could be, related to some genetic component?
So, new information, all information is good. You just have to keep it in perspective. I do some genetic work, but it's funny, I took a course called methyl genetics, and it took about a year.
Methyl?
It's just understanding methylation pathways and gene expression and things like that. And at first, it's not that it's very exciting, and I was so excited at first. But what I realized is it's just potential. And just because you have the gene for something does not mean you're going to get it. At one time, a long time ago, I took an epigenetics course, which just teaches you about gene expression. And so the dangerous part about getting your genomic information, your DNA, telling you what they call SNPs, they're basically expressions of gene potential, is that just because you have a SNP doesn't mean it's ever going to express. And I think they say, generally speaking, you're 70% at least or more what your environment does to you, how it turns on positive or negative gene expression. So if you are in a toxic environment or a stressful environment, that has more power than just because you have the gene because you got it from mom and grandma. And so it's environment, it's habits. What they generally say is, if you don't want to end up like mom and grandma, don't do what they did, don't eat what they eat, change your habits. And that's, I think, a really powerful message. What gets dangerous about genetics is you've got docs that they learn genetics, they learn to look at the SNPs, those little genetic uniquenesses about each of us, and then they assume that you have that issue and they start giving you treatments for that. And I think that's dangerous. It's not looking at the whole picture. And so for me in functional medicine, I always try and take a step back and let's look at the big picture. Let's look at the risk factors, but then let's also coordinate it with what's happening with the metabolism, in the blood work and the hormone profiles and whatever other kind of testing we do. Let's look at the symptoms. Let's see what matches up and, make sure that you're considering the big picture. I think it's really dangerous to go just have surgery to minimize your chances because you have certain genes. I think we need to look at what turns them on and what keeps them from, expressing negatively. And I'd rather see people be aware of their risk, but then approach it from an environment standpoint. You can't. There are some people that just have great genes and they can really be in a toxic environment and drink and smoke it up and have no sleep and all the big stressors in life, and they turn out fine. But that's not most of us. Most of us, there was a good way to look at it, and I just think this is the way we should approach your body and care of it. If anybody was watching the Olympics, there was a commercial from 23andMe, which is one of those genetic companies that came on repetitively, and I loved it because it asked the question. It said, what if you knew that you were going to be given a brand new car?
It was the only one you were going to ever have.
It was the only one you're ever going to have your whole life long. You can't change it. How would you take care of it? would you take good care of it or, or not? And, I think all of us would, that makes perfect sense. I mean, we take better care of our cars than we do our bodies. But if you knew, how would you honor that? And that's the story of your body. You get one. It lasts your whole life long. Take good care of it. And there are things out of our control. I always say that if I'm doing what I can within my control, then I can let go and not feel regret or guilt that I didn't, that this happened or that happened, because I did the things that were in my control to the best of my ability. And then, then you have faith, take a deep breath, and life is what it is. But, if you're only given one car, how are you going to take care of it? So in, my office, I just try and help people take good care of their car, so to speak, take care of that one body that you were gifted, and hopefully help it function better. But with regard to the genetics, it's a huge topic, and there's so much that, it changes literally every day. There's so much that I don't know about it. There's a lot that I do know, but it literally, there's more research every day. We have deeper understandings of it every day. I just say, take it with a grain of salt. Make sure you coordinate it with the big picture, and that somebody's paying attention to other stuff, and don't just go somebody that works up your genetics and doesn't look at the other stuff.
John's writing.
Well, I have to write things down so I don't, trip over myself.
Oh, okay.
But, every time we've listened to Michelle in the group, and
she spoke again this morning.
She did,
yes.
and it was compelling for me, because when you speak, what's nice about when you talk about what you talk about, it's not a waste of words.
Yes.
Each word coming out of it has a meaning, and if you're focused and not thinking about, sidetracked with cell phone or some stupid thing, I've just always appreciate it. When I listen to you, I'm like, she is so right. She is so right. And I am such a simulator special for her.
Simulators.
Yeah. Well, the thing I was thinking about, we were
Right.
talking about, you made a great comment there
Yeah.
about whether your genetics are like your mom or your grandma. I always say I got about half a dozen things that my dad had. Well, my dad got them when he was 15 to 20 years older than me. So, boy, did I have a good time.
So you're
growing
ahead of
up.
the curve.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Overachiever.
I'm on a curve that just goes right into a brick wall. But a lot of times I'll say to my wife Dee Dee, who's also very practical, smart, and very medically knowledgeable,
Right.
As Michelle in a different way. I always say, why is this happening to me? Why
me?
do bad things happen to
Yeah,
good
yeah.
people? And
Right.
it happens all the time, but a lot of times I say, well, you know what? In reality, I always just say, well, I did it to myself.
In part, I don't think it's 100%, but the challenge with it is it's so insidious and it starts slow. You don't get a disease in a day, generally speaking. Autoimmune's a whole different ballpark, because there's a stress that triggers autoimmune, and poof, you can turn that switch on real quick. But in our teens and our younger years, we're invincible, and it's that's not going to happen to me. We live a good couple decades like that, and then we learn, often a little bit too late, that, man, I wish I would have paid better attention to my this or my that or whatever it was. But I always say let go of guilt, because guilt is not good for your immune system. And you do the best that you can today, and hopefully learn something that makes us better, or treats our body with more care, and do better tomorrow. That's don't waste any guilt on it. And I think a lot of people do that, and that honestly, that just degrades your health more. I don't think
Right.
it serves a purpose. But I get it, and there are things that I wish I knew, 20,
sure.
30 years ago too. So, you take a deep breath and you just move forward. But I get it. Yeah.
Well, and a lot of times people will say to me, how do you feel about your life? I said, honestly, I've been so blessed. I have no regrets.
Yeah,
I mean,
got a
I
great
can't,
family. And
Right.
And now that I'm going to be a grandpa,
Right. Congratulations.
some more incentive there. So, but that I
Yeah.
always have to throw that in. But I think about this stuff every day. Whether I'm laying in bed, I go home, I'm tired from work, my feet hurt, my hands hurt, my whatever it is.
Right.
And line up for the Walgreens. I'm the poster child for Walgreens. They don't even ask me my address anymore when I pick up a prescription. Hi, Mr. Campion.
They know you by face.
Yeah, I saw you on TV last night. I'm like, oh, Comcast. Okay. Anyways, yeah, you make a lot of great points, and I think I want to. Are we going? We have to take a break soon, Frank?
We do.
I have some thoughts that I want to. We'll talk about off, and when we come back on, I'll actually try to make sense. But we're going to take a quick break. Okay. We have our guest is Dr. Michelle Narson with Narson Kasei Chiropractic here in Stewart. And this is Martin County Business Exchange Wednesday show, and it's John Campion with the other co-host, Frank Mezzapel. We'll be right back.
All right. And now it's time for today's Southeast AgNet Report, brought to you by Everglades Farm Equipment, a family-owned business for the past 50 years with 10 Florida locations, including Fort Pierce, Okeechobee, and Loxahatchee. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Man, I feel like I've been running laps on that break. This is John Campion, co-host of the Martin County Business Exchange Wednesday night show with Big Frank Mezzapel. He's the man on the board. He is amazing, and if you heard him laugh earlier, it's only because
You're funny.
Well, you're yucking it
he
up
looked
all
at my
the time.
face. Yeah, but we are F-Troop, baby. Yeah, not that we've had that on before.
No.
And our wonderful, serious, yet still trying to make her laugh on the air is Dr. Michelle Narson from Narson Kasei Chiropractic here in Stewart. Been in practice for 26 years.
Right.
Husband-wife team.
She started right out of junior high school. I
She
think.
did.
That was a baby.
She
Yes,
did.
I think so.
Yeah,
Definitely.
we are so lucky to have her. Once you meet Michelle, you'll Dr. Michelle.
Yes.
Excuse me, I
Yes.
am Dr.
It's all
Narson. You get to know we've got a few doctors in our
Right.
group, and I always try to be respectful.
Right. Yes.
As people start calling me Mr. Campion, I go,
I get that.
Yeah.
You know what the problem is? Like with me, I got the gray hair going on, and so
well, at least you got hair.
well, yeah.
Oh, listen to her. She's
Yeah.
looking at me.
Okay, you got me to laugh.
So yeah, it used to be that people would just say, refer to me, not so much like sir, but I getting the yes sir thing, and so it's
Yeah.
like I think it's the gray hair.
Yeah.
Because I certainly don't engender that much respect.
Well, Frank, I want to just tell you,
I don't think.
you do not look your age. You have taken very good care of yourself, and I'm
What's
pretty
that
impressed.
pickle jar that I soak in every night?
Well,
you know?
that's true. That's
So,
it's the
whatever.
big, the big barrel.
Yeah,
Actually,
right.
if you ferment your pickles properly, that's a natural source of probiotics.
Very cool.
There you go.
Very good.
What
See?
about cherry juice for
gout,
For
right?
gout, yeah. Is it true? Really?
There's some research behind it.
I know one of our friends that we know in our group told me about some concoction that he came up with. I think it had vinegar and cherry juice and some other stuff he had to choke down. I go, yeah, I'd get rid of my gout. I'd throw up, and I wouldn't have to worry about putting anything in my body. So, we're talking really the key subject, I think,
It's functional medicine.
functional
Yeah,
medicine.
Right.
So the thing I wanted to ask you was how is this out there in the medical field for, say, education? For you're going to college. I want to be a physical therapist. Oh, I want to learn more about functional medicine. How is this viewed out there? I mean, I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
No, it's all good, and I am on the spot. But it's spreading like wildfire.
Yeah.
The reality is it makes sense. It's not anything quirky. It's just understanding metabolic pathways and biochemistry, and really thinking about what's going on with somebody. There are medical schools, for example, the Miller School of Medicine at University of Miami has a functional medicine course, and I've actually participated in 2 events there. So, I think this is the medicine of the future. It's medicine that thinks. It's medicine that asks, why something is happening and gets to the root cause. The days, and I know it's still mainstream, but the days of, you get a pill for this and no questions asked, I hope that's going away, because we are all individuals, and definitely medicine will be more effective if it's treated like that. And I've seen it. I get to have patients that come in and see me. Most of the people I see have been suffering for years. I mean, the common story, people walk in and they say, this is what the last 20 years of my life have been like, and then they start crying, and it's awful. They're lost and hopeless, and they've been, drugs have been thrown at them, and I'll just say really clearly, I have no problem with drugs or medication. I think there's a time and a place for them. I just think overall, no matter what you're doing, you should start simple and the least invasive as you can and natural. And if that doesn't work, then there's a time to get more complicated and more invasive. But, putting conditions in cookie cutter boxes, it just doesn't work for everybody. And there's a whole population of people out there that really need help. And, from my point of view, it's a lot of fun giving people back their hope. I think probably the thing I love the best about what I get to do is empower people to take control of their health again. And I have people that are living a quality of life that they just never imagined they would ever have again, and that's really fun. So, yeah, it's catching it like wildfire. And there are medical doctors that are exclusively functional medicine as well. It is not quite so mainstream that it's recognized by health insurance yet, but there are, I'll say, developing whispers that there are some health insurances that will be exclusive to supporting functional medicine, and that's a choice you can make when you make your healthcare coverage.
Right. Because
So-
I don't mean to interrupt
No,
you,
no,
but
it's
I'm
good.
thinking, but following your thread of thought here, if you can get on top of situations and do it in the manner which you're speaking,
You prevent.
you're going to prevent your healthcare costs long term is actually going to go down.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
And
so
that's
you would
the
think the
beauty of
medical
it.
community would jump on board.
Well, it
would
depends.
hope.
It depends.
Yeah.
It depends. Unfortunately, like anything else, medicine is an industry. And, personally, I think all doctors truly want to help from their heart. And we get caught up in the busyness of life and practice the same as anybody else. But I think all practitioners, they go into it because they want to be helpful in the world. But the reality is and we won't go there too in depth, but, medicine is a business. And so, there's so many roads to the same destination. There's so many roads to health, and there's many right roads. So, there's not one way, but, there are just forces out there that do want to make money off of people. And so when you look into something, and I'll just bring up a controversial topic, there's something called water fasting, which is you're not fasting from drinking water, but that you actually go on a water fast.
Oh, all right.
And
That could be very dangerous.
well, there's actually a lot of research on it, if it's done properly, showing that it's incredibly regenerative of tissue.
Oh, okay. But I'm thinking if you
drink
consume
too much
water.
Oh, absolutely. You
Yeah.
can overhydrate. You can throw off
always
your
throw some
electrolytes,
scotch in there.
and you can die. If you
Yeah.
overhydrate. So
Yeah.
this is not something to take lightly, but that doesn't make anybody any money. So it's kind of something that that the medical will just say never embraced. There's a lot of good research on it. There's a lot of good treatments out there. I think the key is personalizing it and making sure that you're matching the right kind of treatment with the right kind of person and the right kind of system.
Does when we talk about Western medicine, right, which is what acupuncture?
Like mainstream.
That's Western. Yeah,
No, that's Eastern medicine.
Eastern medicine.
Eastern.
Excuse
Western
me.
is like mainstream.
That's what we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eastern, when you're doing the, I don't know if I guess holistic is even kind of a separate category from that, but you're taking boiling tea out of
Right.
the hemp in your backyard
Yeah,
or whatever.
Eastern medicine uses a lot of herbs. And
acupuncture
Right.
and doing this or that. How is that still going to stay prevalent? I guess because it's been around for
Absolutely.
gazillion years.
Yeah.
I mean, there are hieroglyphics in caves that show people being needled and being adjusted, and herbs. Herbs are ancient. They go back to creation of I don't know, fields, grasses. I don't know, but
In Florida, it's known as Amendment 2C.
yeah. but absolutely, those are all different aspects of health. I think that there's no one person, including myself, that should be responsible for everything about somebody's health. There's different, I say, pieces of the pie, and I do my part. But then there's the medical world, and there's there's many different parts to being healthy. So it's diet, it's nutrition, it's exercise. I think all of those things have a place, and I think it works best when we all work together.
Can I ask one more question?
No,
No, that's-
you're done.
How much? Well, thank you for that. There's been a couple times on there I said something to Frank. I said, "Frank, can I say it?" He says, "Well, you said it."
Don't
And I was
ask the
like,
question.
you have
Yeah,
to,
anything.
The Federal Trade Commission hasn't called yet, or whatever. Federal, anyway, FCC. I'll learn all the acronyms before
you're
this is
doing,
over.
Yes, and you're doing good.
Okay, thanks.
All right.
It's a family show. Michelle's family's listening. Do you deal a lot with chronic pain?
Oh gosh, all the time. I would say most people, for one reason or another, come to us. I always say they come not just when pain starts. They play the maybe it'll go away game as long as they possibly can, and then push it even further until their pain or dysfunction interferes with their ability to work and play. And so that's the line. Most people, especially here in the United States, I mean, we push ourselves as far as we possibly can. We definitely take better care of our cars than we do our bodies.
Yeah.
And you don't, pain is your body's way to talk to you. It's way to communicate and say, hey, I need a little help. And we're supposed to listen to that message. The earlier, the better. And, the earlier you catch something, the easier it is to turn it around. If you play the maybe it'll go away game too long, sometimes you create permanency and cellular change that you can now manage, but you can never reverse again. But yeah, pain is something we see all the time, whether it's a chiropractic issue and it's a physical joint pain or something like that. Or a lot of people, I mean, I have, with my functional medicine practice, I see a lot of autoimmune patients. So I get fibromyalgia patients and people that are in a ton of pain. I had really neat patient a few years ago that she'd had fibromyalgia for years and years, and just
and she knew it. I mean,
oh yeah. No,
she'd been
she was diagnosed
Okay.
before she came into me, and I really didn't do a lot of work with her. I've only done a little bit of work with her, but she had a complete change in her energy, her ability to participate in life. She wrote me this lovely note saying that if I could have seen her dancing, I would have been so proud, because she never imagined that she would be able to be that active again. And that's the kind of stuff I always say that just keeps me loving what I do. But pain is definitely a theme over at our office, and we see that all the time. And whatever angle we need to come at to try and help somebody get out of pain, it's many options, many roads, and always helpful.
Do you perceive chronic pain different than, say, a chiropractic, when, I got to go get my back fixed, or I got to go see David because he's going to realign me and all that? Is that viewed differently than chronic pain, which chronic pain is like chronic? It's all the time, right? I mean,
whatever the problem is, we're always, and whether it's a chiropractic problem or a functional medicine problem, we're always looking to causative factors. So even something that's chronic, that has chronicity to it, it's been there a long time. But did you ever look to see why it was happening and try and address the things that caused it to be there in the first place? Years ago, I had a patient that came into me for lower back pain, and he did really well. He responded really quick. I mean, sometimes it happens faster than others. And anyway, he did so great. He says, my knee's been bothering me for 20 years. Do you think you can take a look at it? In the back of my head, I'm thinking, gosh, 20 years. I don't know if there's something I can do to help that. And I'm real honest. I said, I don't know if I can help it, but I know I'm not going to hurt it. We had done an exam. I had an idea of how it was functioning. I said, the worst we can do is do some treatments, see how it works. We either help it or we don't, but I don't think it's going to be any worse off. And, lo and behold, I was, the sun was shining in the right place. And his knee did so well, and it had bothered. I mean, that was a chronic problem. He had it for 20 years. He worked where he worked. There were 2 different office buildings, and he used to have to take a golf cart to go from one to the other because of his knee pain. And I don't know how long I treated him. This was a long time ago, but I'm going to say maybe 2 to 3 months, something like that. And at the end of the treatment protocols, he didn't need that golf cart. He
was carrying his bag again for that 18 holes.
There it is.
He was going from the
There you go.
cart room to the 19th hole, Frank.
Yeah.
No, that's really cool. That's
That is
totally
excellent.
cool. And those are wonderful stories.
Yeah, we're going to take our last break, but as we go out on break, I want to give you Nars and Kasey's address. You can reach them at 1000 Palm City Road, and give them a call at 286-8555. And we'll be right back.
About halfway through, this ear thing kicked in.
You're like, whoa.
Oh,
Excuse me one sec. I actually have to go.
It was loud.
Well, I can turn it down.
The babe told me, drink a lot of water. I'm like, and then you started talking about the water, and I was like, I gotta go.
I tried water going to that topic, but it's interesting
Well,
research.
it is. Thanks for letting me talk again, Frank. This is John Campion, co-host with Frank Mezzapel, and our wonderful guest from Martin County Business Exchange, Dr. Michelle Narson from Narson Kasay Chiropractic here in Stewart. And we have so many things that we could talk about. She would love to be able to get another hour to start.
I think so.
Yeah.
We'll have to bump
You
James.
guys are so much
Yeah,
fun.
who wants to listen to golf stuff from
Right,
James?
right.
You know, he might want to just have the afternoon off.
Well, we need to have Michelle come back in the studio again, bring her husband, David.
He
and-
would do
and-
that. He would
and
do
then
that.
he would stay over
Yeah.
for the next show.
There you go.
And hang with James.
That would be cool.
That would so we kind of
You would
double
do
team
that.
our listeners. Yes.
Yeah, good deal.
But before we go on with some more Q&A, Dr. Michelle has a little quote out of a book that she would like to read to our listeners.
All right. So I brought this just because I think it says it's a little story that tells what functional medicine does. It is in a book by Dr. Junger. He's an MD, and he wrote, "Good medicine is very much like good gardening. Imagine you have a tree that you love. One day you notice its leaves have turned brown. They will, you understand, soon wither and fall off. Imagine now that you call an expert who, after close examination of the leaves, recommends that you paint them green and attach them back to their branches so the tree can appear to be healthy. Everyone would agree that that's crazy. If you want to get your tree truly healthy, you can't just cover up the problem. You need to get to the root of it." And I loved how he said that because, I mean, that's really what functional medicine is about. It's getting to the root of a problem. There's, I brought a couple quotes I'll share with you guys since you're letting me go wild here.
Yeah, slow down, man. You're really,
Overwhelm,
you're really
overwhelm.
letting your hair down again, Michelle.
There's a quote by Dr. Andrew Taylor Still. He's an MD that lived from 1828 to 1917, and I love this quote. It says, "The goal of a physician is to find health, because anyone can find disease." And that was true then, and that's really what functional medicine is about. Is it's finding health and nourishing the health in somebody. And then my favorite quote is from Thomas Edison, and it's a pretty famous quote, where he says, "The doctor of the future will give no medicine, but will interest his patients in the care of the human frame, in diet, and in the cause and prevention of disease." And that's good medicine.
Right.
That's keeping it healthy and nourishing health.
Well,
Well done.
yeah, I mean,
You're speechless.
Yes.
That's
We are.
crazy.
Yes.
you got us.
Hey, it's like, wow. I mean, that really does. Those are good summaries of what
well,
Dr. Michelle and her husband
how
David are all
often-
about.
Yeah, how often you go to the doctor and you go, God, why don't they talk to me and listen to what I have to say? I used to, my general, I won't mention
Yeah.
who he is. I could make up a funny name for him, but actually I used to call him Dr. Doolittle because that's what he did.
Aw.
But had no bedside. He would not look at you, and he would be head of his
Yeah.
head in the computer. And it was
Right?
like,
Don't you hate that when you're in
Oh,
the
my
room
gosh.
and they're looking at the monitor and they're just banging away on
Yeah,
the
just
keyboard?
not, who are
And-
you?
yeah.
What am I doing here?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, you need
Yeah,
to
yeah.
have somebody, when you come into our office, we just sit down and we talk to
Yeah.
you, and we listen, and we talk about your current health and your health history, and we listen. And honestly, that's where we get the best information. If I can learn more about you, then I can help you more. So that's
Well,
all good.
do you want to talk about that incredible family you have, or would you just assume? I mean, I will just say that I'm very impressed with what you've got your kids at a certain age, and they're very good athletes, and very lot to be proud of.
Yeah.
Absolutely. My daughter, I've got 3 children. So my daughter is 19, Rachel, and she graduated Jensen Beach High School last year. And actually right now she does volunteer work at the high school, and she helps to coach the flag football, the girls league. And she's pretty amazing inside and out. And the boys, we've got 2 boys, Benjamin and Matthew. Ben is 15, Matthew is 12, going on 13 soon. And they're all incredible people. The boys are great athletes. They're both fantastic hockey players. Matter of fact, both of them this weekend, their ice hockey teams qualified for state championships. So this weekend we'll be immersed in state championship ice hockey.
Where does that happen at?
Matthew's games are down at in Palm Beach.
Yeah.
It's Palm Beach Hawks at at Oh, the name went anyway.
Palm Beach.
It's in Palm Beach, and Ben is traveling. We have to split up to handle this weekend, so I forget where Ben's going. But
Divide and
David's in
conquer.
charge of that.
Wow.
Yeah.
And Ben recently made the varsity lacrosse team at Jensen Beach High School, and so they're actually there's a game going on in 5 minutes.
Man, I wish.
It's busy.
Do you want to get out of here now?
Yeah, it's all good. I'll get there.
That is a sport that I wish was around when I was in
Lacrosse?
Oh my
yeah.
goodness, are you serious?
Yes.
I saw my first game not too long ago, and I
Man.
could not believe they were allowed to hit each other with metal
Yeah.
poles.
Very cool.
Really?
It's great.
He loves it. He comes home. He's like, "Mom, I had so much fun," but I don't understand why you'd want to be
they
hit by
wear
a pole.
knee pads, elbow pads,
barely
and
have
gloves.
pads.
Yeah, right. That's
I'm
what
used
I like
to
of
hockey
it.
equipment.
Yeah. Well, there
I
you
like
go.
hockey equipment. It's like bubble wrapping them.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, that's like.
Anyway, I'm very blessed in the family department.
That's good. I'm glad they're not playing football.
And David and I are married 25 years this year.
Wow. Congratulations.
Sweet. Way to go.
Yeah, it's good. Many blessings.
Yeah, he's a lucky dude.
I think
Oh,
so.
you're kind.
And of course, I'm sure he's
Works both
say
ways.
The same. Yes, it does.
Works both
when you get
ways.
that far along.
Absolutely.
The other thing I wanted to ask you, you already told us the favorite part is figuring out what's going on with people. You had told us a wonderful story this morning about one of your patients and how good that makes you feel. That was the crowning jewel on covering everything that you try to do with everybody.
Yeah, that is absolutely the most fun part. It's seeing lives change and seeing people become active again. I mean, I've had people that had really given up on life, and it's like they get a second chance, and that's fun. I'm so privileged to be part of that process.
One of the other things that we talk about a lot is business out there. Is there, you guys kind of have to sort of reinvent yourself to a point like you did with functional medicine. You kind of have to always, we've talked about this many times. I try to reinvent ourselves every year or so with our business.
New flushing valves.
Yeah, well, actually, they got a universal valve, and now they're going to be getting rid of the flappers.
Oh,
Well,
that's good.
that's
'cause
good,
We
'cause
always
those
have
things drive me
issues with
crazy.
that.
Yeah,
Me
I'm
too.
not talking about, Red Skull, hey, Philly, boy. Anyways, but there's pretty cool stuff going on there.
So you're talking about reinventing yourself.
Yeah, so with the healthcare industry and everything going on, and you guys are just kind of in a unique slot.
It's
with
all
your
happened
practice.
just naturally. You
Yeah.
know, for us, it was interest that we had. We followed it, and we're blessed and we're lucky. It turned out it's really applicable to a lot of people, and so we get to help a lot of people. But I think pick something you love to do and just keep moving forward.
And the new patients come in, and the old patients refer and keep coming in, and what a wonderful situation.
Keep on.
Yeah, I remember our goal was always that we didn't want to advertise. So when we first got to town, we had, the telephone ad, nothing too huge, but I remember when we got down to the point where we were just a line in the phone book, and that felt good to me because I knew that we were successful because our patients were experiencing good things and telling other people, and that's always, that's the kind of growth that I wanted to have.
Yeah, advertising the necessary evil with some people, like retail. We've just got a couple minutes left. Frank, is there any other brilliant type question you want to ask her without me embarrassing everybody?
Well, yeah. So, we want to make sure we let our listeners know where they can find Narson Kasay Chiropractic, and so
five star.
Oh, you're kind.
Palm City Road,
Right.
and so it's right behind the downtown Publix. Very easy to find. On the right-hand side, as you're going west on Palm City Road, on the right-hand side, it's easy to find. And their address is, where it is, address is 1000 Palm City Road. So, and of course, their phone number, I'll give that out too. Phone number is 286-8555. And you can also find them at mcbe.org.
You bet.
Yep.
And
That would be a good thing
what
to
I would
do.
tell you is when you're coming off US 1 heading
Yes.
towards Palm City,
Yes.
you go over you go over the speed bump, the only one,
Yes.
and then they're just a little bit up on the right.
Right.
So, and
Once your head recovers from bouncing off the roof.
and you're
then-
supposed to
then
drive
you'll-
25 on the road,
Right.
so then you'll see it.
Right.
So that puts another week into the penalty box here, and we'll be back next week, won't we, Frank?
Well,
you got me in
absolutely.
another week in a row
Cool.
here.
I'm looking forward. Well, you're going to I'm going to get you for 2 days. I get you Tuesday
Yeah,
and Wednesday.
we'll surprise everybody next week. That'll be
Yeah.
kind of fun next Tuesday. But anyways, this
So
has been
stay
the
tuned for that.
Martin County Business Exchange Wednesday night show, McBiz.org. And we'll see you. It's Frank and John signing off. And thank you, Michelle, Dr. Michelle
Thank you, Ben.
Narson, for being here.
All righty. We'll be back
it
next
easy.
week. Thank you.